I've been struggling a little bit with the description of peace and love as being, I don't know if it's the manifestation of awareness. My confusion is that for me, I think it's the mind body, this avatar, as you call it sometimes. It's how the mind body, experiences or feels after it's been in a state of bliss. So it's the thing that happens after. It's not actually the thing, if you follow what I'm saying. When I have been in deep contemplation, and it's with the who am I contemplation, the thing that happens is not peace for me. It is this intense energy that I have no explanation for what it is. It's this intense energy that that's indescribable. But what settles on this avatar after that is peace and love. So I suppose it's a comment and a question. Where does peace, love, and the actual being in that state of oneness, recognizing it without the mind body being present, that state of bliss, that's the closest I suppose I can call it. Yeah, I suppose it's all just words, but I get confused with the peace because it's not peaceful. Yeah.
No, I don't think it's just words. I think it's a very valuable question. I'm very grateful for these questions because this is a very important question. When we speak about discrimination, viveka. Sometimes I call it volume up and volume down, and sometimes even muted the peace. So this piece that I discovered when I entered the samadhi hall with the who am I question, this revelation, was the volume up. It was very loud. I couldn't overhear it. It was a piece that I have never felt before, so to speak. And very rightly, you say this is this volume up piece, so to speak, is experienced in the body-mind. It's a reflection in the subtle body of the one light of consciousness. I think I spoke before in a satsang about this growing up process that I use sometimes here as a metaphor. When we grow up and become teenagers or little children already, and we need to look in the mirror to affirm to ourselves, it's like, oh, this is me, Adrian. I am this body, and I confirm to myself, this is me. On the spiritual path, or non-dual path of understanding, it's a evolution beyond that, so to speak. I let go of the identification of me being the body-mind, and I start to look through the grace of the teacher, the teaching, or other circumstances, I may discover this volume up presence, I call that also sometimes, which is looking in the mirror of consciousness, letting go of the identification of my body-mind as me and looking into the light, so to speak. Receiving in my subtle body the reflection of the light of consciousness, and when the volume is up, the light is so strong that it's as good as the original, so to speak. And I'm bathing, what Ramana called abiding in and as the self. Mm. And many at that time exactly confuse the reflection in the mirror, looking at my formless true face, so to speak, confusing that for awareness, consciousness, where actually in this volume up version of presence of peace, it's the reflection of the light in a clear mind, in a clear, subtle body. So it's true that it's not the awareness, so to speak, but reflected awareness. But the beauty is of those sages like Ramana, they didn't discriminate so much like we do here sometimes. They known if we just bask enough and look into this true mirror, at our true face, then the rest of the understanding often follows the clearing and the integration, and the picture becomes so clear, so to speak, that eventually that light that is reflected in the mirror, if we want to say, merges. Or we come to the point where the reflection happens, where the light of consciousness is reflected. And at this point of reflection, the volume of the piece may be very low, almost unnoticed. It doesn't have this presence, this love, this quality that comes through the reflection and the translation in the body-mind, which is beautiful because it's the highest human experience to feel that. Mm. And then there is, if you want to call it, the real deal. Pure awareness, pure consciousness, muted peace. It is muted because it doesn't come with the quality in the body-mind, rightly, as you said. Nevertheless, it's the same light of consciousness, and yes, without the expression in the body-mind, still it's self-luminous, self-knowing, and this self-knowing is a knowing of a completeness, of a wholeness, of a fullness, or in other words, a knowing of an absence of lack. This absence of lack, what would you call that when there is nothing missing? When you know deeply that you are whole and complete and nothing is missing. There is only, and there you're right, positive words. Is why in many traditions, positive words, or even the word God, is forbidden, because no word can express that, exactly as you say. So when we say peace, it's actually not exactly correct. So we could say it's the absence of lack. It's the absence of problems. It's just a continuous knowing. And that's why enlightenment is so unspectacular. Sahaja samadhi is not a spectacular experience in the body-mind, as I always say. It's just this absence of lack, this absence of problems, this continuous knowing of my shared beingness with the whole universe. So then, I don't need to look in the mirror anymore. When I turn eventually 25, 30, I have looked at my face and my body so many times that I maybe get tired of it. And I know it's like, okay, this dude, this is Adrian. So I don't need to, like in my teenage years, maybe check my hair all the time. We all know that when we grow older. In the same way, in non-dual understanding, eventually I have looked in the mirror of this peace, of this volume up, of this presence that I experience in satsang, or through the presence of my teacher, or just when it reveals itself to me in its quality, in a pure sattvic mind, when the light, the volume is up, eventually I don't need to look in the mirror. I don't need the volume up anymore. Also, when I grow older, I don't need the music so loud anymore. Maybe I'm okay to listen much quieter. In the same way, eventually I don't need this super presence, this super peace anymore. But in the beginning, it's very helpful for many because it gives me so much strength to not emphasize with the objects of my experience, thoughts, feelings, perceptions, etc. The peace may grow so strong in the presence that I become disinterested, the other big word in non-dual teaching, vairagya, detachment or dispassion with objects. Equally important, like the viveka, the discrimination. And this real deal, without needing to look in the mirror, without needing the verification of my teacher or of my body-mind, exactly, as you say, is the real deal. It's this where words end. Even we could still call it peace or happiness, in the sense that there is just nothing missing, nothing needed. And for you, I feel this is what is important, is this knowing. I actually, at some point when I work with people one-on-one or meet people one-on-one, I actually make sure that they don't get attached to the volume up. Because the mind loves the volume up, and for a certain time it's very wonderful to bask in their light, But we don't want, rightly as you feel and say, the mind to attach to any experience. And there comes a point where we need to grow confident with the knowing of our beingness, which is so much more subtle if we want to use words. It's all not meeting exactly what we speak. That's why it's traditionally referred to as knowledge and not as experience. But we know nevertheless, and that's how it's shared. It's a non-experience. It's just this knowing of myself, of my I amness. And when we have evolved into that, we don't look in this formless mirror anymore, and we're just okay with being aware of what is. Volume up peace or volume up misery. So yes, the volume up or even the volume down piece is not the final pure awareness, so to speak. But if you look in a clear mirror, it's as good as the original. We are made in the image and likeness of God, right? Is the original Christian teaching. So it's very good to have a clear image for quite a while. That helps us to loosen the power of the objects in our experience of thoughts, feelings, perceptions, to being so fascinated by them.
Mm.
This volume up piece, in my understanding, in my experience, is what is referred to as savikalpa, samadhi. Samadhi with objects. There is the samadhi, the sense of sama, of sameness, of oneness, the experience of oneness, and in the same time, objects still passing by. Thoughts, feelings, sensations, perceptions, both in the same time. And then we have nirvikalpa samadhi, samadhi without objects, a rare experience, sometimes confused with enlightenment, being in ecstatic, strong energy of myself without a body-mind. And all of those are just the transitioning into sahaja samadhi, the ordinary beingness of myself, which appears to the body-mind as muted. Exactly. But somehow we need some candy along the way, you know? to be happy with this muted beingness, because to the mind it appears for quite a while that it's kind of juiceless, that there is nothing in it. That's why it's called sometimes emptiness, right? In Buddhism, it's like empty of objects. So it's so we get some candy along the way until we are happy to just being that.
I like the reference to a reflection. It feels, yeah, it sort of sits well, and the volume down, the going about every day with a sense of peace and absence of lack. Yep, it makes sense. Thank you.
Oh yes, this volume up, peace, presence is reflected consciousness in the body-mind, which is in non-dual circles often confused for that being the deal. And then there is the danger of getting hooked, right, on this reflection and always thinking that we do something wrong. But everyone who goes the way, so to speak, like you, has gone a long way, and less we need the volume up. Less and less we need, maybe we even had some very spectacular body-mind experiences along the way. Some of us had, like nirvikalpa samadhi. It's a very wonderful, most cases life-changing experience, but everyone comes to the same place, so to speak, that the muted ordinary beingness is the most satisfying thing, just being.